All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the air. Today we're going to talk about client control, selling psychology, as well as client education. In any type of sales, no matter what you're selling, the consultative approach is always best. So educating your clients is important. Using psychology is important, and most of all, having control is important. And I'm not saying control in the sense like your client is your little pet and they're sitting here and you're petting them. No, I don't mean anything like that. I mean control so that business can be done efficiently. The sooner a salesperson uses the elements of client control, the faster their progress will be toward higher fees and higher income. And in my experience, anyone who can't or won't use client control, they will perpetually struggle to stay above board. It is an axiom of professional selling that the key to success is to do the most productive thing possible at any given time. This usually relates to time management and organization, but it's just as applicable to client control. You may see things out there that manufacturers use to keep their organization going forward, like for example, Six Sigma techniques that Motorola developed in the 80s to I guess have a specific standard for their process improvement. Well, this stuff works. It's about time management, it's about organization, and it's about doing things effectively, and it's also about taking action. Now, the most productive thing to do when you're dealing with clients is to call at the right time. And I know this is elementary, but calling at the right time will help you get as many good collectible accounts as there are to get. Now, this is something that does not pertain specifically to if you're cold calling. This is once you have your foot in the door. You should know when your client will complete their aging and when they will be prepared to turn over whatever problem accounts they have on one call. That way, you're not chasing your tail and having to call back 7 or 8 times. Hey, man, you got those accounts ready yet? Oh, no, well, you know, man, it's been real busy, and you know we do our aging at the end of the month. Well, obviously, that's not a productive call. Other parts of client control are teaching your client when to turn accounts over in a timely fashion and to let us do our job without interfering or requiring daily updates and status reports from you. Teaching them to use their online access. This is of course, the first thing you want to do when you land a client. Once the collector or investigator begins doing work on the account, and you can verify this by going into the account and looking at the notes. You know, if there's notes on the file, somebody's working. Kind of a no-brainer. You want to make sure some stuff's there before you go in and walk a client through their online access, so you can tell them, oh, look, man, my guys are already busy working on getting you your money. Now, a timely fashion on turning accounts over means, you know, well, naturally before they're a year old or before they're turned over to another agency or an attorney or before they file bankruptcy. We like to get them with some meat still on them. The best accounts are going to be placed either at a 90-day aging or 120-day aging. And for your clients that don't want to come to terms in placing them that soon, get them to agree at 150 or 180. Now, when we talk about client control, this actually begins in the beginning of the relationship. Matter of fact, it starts with your introductory remarks to a receptionist. An authoritative approach with an assumptive attitude will always create the impression that you have the right to call and that you deserve respect and you should quickly be transferred to the right party. Now, this doesn't mean be rude to the receptionist or unpersonable. Being personable to a receptionist is always a good way to get you what you want from that receptionist. Continuing on the same vein, your introduction to the authorizing party should also be forceful, professional, and polite. Okay, these three elements can work together and will help you establish your permission to qualify this prospect. We've talked before about earning the right to qualify. This is one of the things you want to use when you begin to earn your right to qualify. And of course, when you're asking your qualifying questions, concentrate on making them sound informed and specific. You want to ask hard questions. You will learn more and get to the real issues more quickly if you do things this way. And we'll talk about some suggested wordings for hard questions later on. We'll also probably go over some rigid responses. Your client control is also affected by the type of presentation you make. You should always employ a features and benefits presentation. Okay, you want to use tie downs and trial closes frequently. This helps establish, maintain, and qualify the prospect's interest according to their own hot buttons. It will also help you to focus on the best potential benefits around which to build a closing sequence. Okay, if you've done a good job of client control in the presentation, you will have properly set up your callback or your follow-up call. You will not only have established the time and date of your next call, but you will also have set up an agenda for conversation. Specifically, you should have probed to find out which problem accounts you will be discussing. Who are they? How much do they owe you? How long have they owed you? Why aren't they paying? Where are they located? Then when you call back, you can utilize an assumed close technique to get these placements. Okay, closing is the final culmination of controlling tactics prior to actually setting up a new client. When we close a new account, however, that is just the beginning of a whole new set of controls. So don't ever think your work's over once you close a client. The ultimate in client control is to be able to guide our clients on every debtor they place, We want them to place all accounts which are beyond normal terms before they get too old. We want collectible accounts, no disputes, bankruptcies, skips, or prior placements. Now, we will take some of these to get the client in the door, but you will want to train your client to place collectible business in a timely fashion. In short, it is absolutely necessary to educate our clients as to what their role is and what our role is. If they do their part, we can do our part, and we will both realize more profit from our organizations. Now, just as we sometimes have our scripts and typical objections that we follow, our clients and prospects, they seem to have their scripts to follow as well. The best way to get them off of their script is to break their preoccupation barrier. And you do this by asking hard questions. When you ask a question which demands conscious thought and a specific response, you are exerting control. A hard question may be something as simple as, why did you break your policy on this account? In other words, if they've let an account get over 120 days or over 90 days and they haven't placed it yet, or if they didn't obtain a credit application prior to extending credit, this is the type of thing that can put your client on the defensive. But by putting your client on the defensive, you can lead him through the client education and control process. And just for the record, hard questions do not include, how's it going? Got any problems? When should I call back? Did you read the material? What did you think about it? And so on. Okay, these aren't hard questions. Your hard questions are going to be, you know, why did you break your policy on this account? You know, what led you to this? You know? How are you just placing this with us now? You must like looking at those write-offs and monthly status reports. Wouldn't you rather be looking at checks? Okay, and these are things that are going to get your client or your prospect off of their comfort zone. Okay? You know, another one, when they tell you, oh, well, you know, we held on to it because he was promising payment. Well, why haven't they paid? And most of the time they're going to say, oh, well, I don't know. They've been promising. You know, he told me the check's in the mail. Right, the check's in the mail. Awesome. This will help you educate your client on what is collectible. Because as you develop a new client, it's very important that you quickly establish the guidelines for placing accounts and for your ongoing business relationship. First and foremost, client education is to establish what constitutes collectible accounts. Okay, we want to be able to help our clients to the best of our ability, and we need their cooperation to be able to do this. So some of the obvious features of a collectible account are, you know, the company's still in business. It's not a disputed account. The account's not too old. It's not a second placement. They have a credit application, and documentation available on the account. In many cases, an enthusiastic new salesperson will oversell our service in terms of being able to collect the real problem accounts. And when that happens, this client will only give us the tough ones, their biggest headaches, the ones that the other agencies won't take. And sure, we'll work them. We'll even collect some of them. But we would rather have the stuff that the other agencies are creaming. And guys, if you don't know what creaming accounts means, you might be in the wrong business, but I'll tell you anyway. Creaming accounts is basically taking the cream off of the top and just leaving the rest behind. Okay? Some of the things when you have clients that are only wanting to give you their biggest headaches, you can tell them things like, look, I'm here to stop these problems from happening to you again, not to try to resurrect the dead. For example, sometimes they will play skip accounts. Ask them hard questions. Do you always wait until the phone is disconnected? Or something like, you used to call them write-offs and bankruptcies. Now you call them placements to Lyons and Associates. What's going on here? Okay? And at this point, you can tell a client, if you don't have an established policy, let's work together to help you set one. Okay? The normal process is to buy wholesale, sell retail, and pay bills out of the profits. Problem accounts buy wholesale, sell retail, but they don't pay at all. If they do that with enough suppliers, they're soon on a COD or CBD basis, which means cash before delivery, with everybody, and they've run out of suppliers who will lend them money. And at that point, they're essentially out of business. And that's something you want to help your clients look out for. Some other things to ask are, who sets your credit policies? Your sales department? And you're going to make comments like this when you're seeing issues with the accounts that clients are placing. You know, is this salesman with you? You know, is he with you, or does he work for the debtor company? You know. Another thing, when we clean up a customer for a client and send them back as a customer, that client's in the driver's seat again. They make the decision on whether or not they want them back and on what terms. So it's important to educate your client on getting their stuff in order and keeping it that way. You know, for example, I've asked many credit managers, are you going to manage your credit department or let it manage you? I've also told them things like, man, you've got to stop your sales department from setting your credit policies. Okay, so, you know, ask the questions, get the answers, listen closely, and of course, take notes. If you're taking notes right now on this video, you don't have to, because you can go back and watch it on YouTube. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can get updates and stuff like that. back to specifics on potential debtor placement. When your client or potential client tells you to call back and they may have some placements, get specific, okay? Ask them, just so I have something to reference on my next call, what is the name on the first one? How much do they owe you? For how long? You know, you want to see how much information they're going to give you, because this is going to determine whether or not they're going to actually place accounts or whether they're stroking you. Keep your notes in the system, and when you call again, you can go right into talking about the actual accounts and asking for the other information needed to get started on collection. Otherwise, when they brush you off with, don't have anything right now, you have to take their word for it. So get the information, you know, and ask them. Other than what do you have right now, who do you have that has you on ignore? Okay, what's the date of the first unpaid invoice? What state are you having your worst problems in? How many demand letters do you have out right now? Okay, who is your assistant? In other words, sometimes you want to find out who their assistant is, so if you call back and they're not available, sometimes this print manager is going to delegate that responsibility to somebody else. You know, when I call back, who will have your accounts for me if you're unavailable? Another one I like to use is, pull up your aging sheet, I'll hold. You know, because they're going to say, oh, well, I don't have the aging in front of me right now. Okay, no problem. Pull it up, I'll hold. So, ask questions, get answers, and, of course, listen. Another extension of client education is age, quantity, collectability. Your most collectible accounts, of course, are going to be the ones that still have some meat on the bones. The older they get, the colder they get. So you're also, in addition to training your clients to give you the most collectible accounts, you're going to want to train your clients to give multiple placements, okay? Not one account at a time. I mean, really? You only have one account sitting there? I'm calling BS on that. In terms of time management and organization, it takes almost as much of your time to process one debtor as it does several. So if you can avoid opening a new client with only one placement, do it. And if you open a client with only one placement, only one of two things can happen. Okay? You're either going to be a hero or you're going to be a goat, depending on whether or not we collect this one account, because it's all or nothing. Okay? So with that said, it's certainly not a good idea to open a new account with a 2-year-old placement or one that's been with other agencies or anything like that, a skip account. When you open up a new client, you want to get a fair cross-section of accounts. And I'm not saying don't take their old accounts. Of course, we really don't want to accept anything that's past the 2-year mark, but if they have stuff that's over a 1-year mark, get some stuff placed with it that is under that 1-year mark. Okay? Now, this isn't going to work for you every time. Sometimes you're going to have to take whatever they can give you, and you know, if you absolutely can't get anything else, take it. You know, that's something that has to be done sometime. So some of the things you can tell a client to get them on board, guys. If you're just coming in, make sure you mute yourself if you're not talking. Some of the things you want to you want to ask a client, you know, when they're holding on to accounts, you know, hey, is this a friend of the boss? You know, is that why you're holding on to it? Another thing that clients tend to do is they will make threats to the debtor that they don't follow up on. You know, demand letters, we're going to place you in collections if you don't pay. And then they sit on it. And as they're sitting on it, the debtor's saying, they're not going to do anything with it. I don't have to pay yet. Okay? The point is, the longer they sit on them, the flatter they get. So when you're going in, you also want to find out what their guidelines are for placement. You know, is it when it hits 90 days, 120 days, 3 ignored letters, unreturned phone calls, and you know, you always want to make sure your clients know that are sitting there praying that the debtor is going to pay them, that while the power of prayer can be useful in some situations, it has never collected anything for any of my clients, ever. Other things you can ask, what do you do for 90 days and what do you do differently after 90 days? You know, at 90 days you can still have a customer. If we clean them up and send them back to you as a customer, you've got a customer back. And isn't that what business is all about? Sometimes you have to get difficult with your clients. Sometimes you have to tell them, I can't and won't help you if you're going to continue to be your debtor's banker. Wouldn't you like to get out of that rut? Another point, when a debtor is on credit hold, or if the debtor's just scared to call them for a new order because he owes them $8,000, that client is creating a market for their competition when they let them go that long. Because the debtor is going to buy from somebody else when they don't buy from them, right? So that's something to point out to your clients. You're creating a market for your competition when you let them go that long. After all, who are they going to buy from when they don't buy from you? You know, and when your client sends a final demand to a debtor, they need to follow up on that demand by placing the account. Okay. Sometimes your clients will send a second final demand, and you know, I was always under the impression final meant final, but you will have clients that do this. Additionally, they need to be educated that as soon as the red flags start popping up, the broken promises, the ignored phone calls, the ignored letters, it's time to place the account. We'll get that client put first in line before the line gets too long. Because we all know once a company begins to get themselves into trouble, it's going to be a vicious cycle, and it's going to continue, and it's going to get bigger until it's out of control. And that's what typically happens, and how companies find themselves in a hole in which they will never extricate themselves. Okay, now, one thing we have to insist on when a client places an account is a signed collection agreement and backup documentation. Okay, we are often stuck in the position of having to make it easy to do business if we wish to obtain a new client. Making it easy to do business sometimes means taking all of the information on the debtor placements over the phone so the client does not have to put together any paperwork. I do it. Other salespeople do it. It's something that happens all the time. And some of these placements can be collected quickly without the need for backup, and some can't be collected without it. But it's a good practice to get your backup documents on every account. Okay? Also, we need to make sure we get that signed collection agreement, even if we have to fill it out for the client and email it to them for their signature. Okay? Sometimes we have to make it easy to do business with us. Remember, guys, the more ammunition we have, the better we can fight the battle. Now, one of the things that we will always have an issue with is a client being sympathetic. When a debtor comes to us for collections, the gloves are off. Okay? We use highly trained, skilled, experienced collectors. We use financially trained private investigators. And we use creditors' rights attorneys to effect payment on accounts. Okay. In many cases, this is going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on a debtor, and that debtor is going to call the client. Now, when a client allows a debtor to divide our position by being sympathetic after we've beat up on the debtor or done whatever we've done, we lose our strength for negotiation. What happens here is the debtor tells us, I worked out a deal with your client. And sometimes they pay, but more often they don't. And we're back at square one without any fees. Additionally, we've spent money on our PIs, our lawyers. We've put resources into getting the debtor to the table, and now the client has gone back and says, oh, I feel terrible for you. They're putting pressure on you after you didn't pay me for 6 months. Oh, well, you can pay $500 a month, and they never see anything. Okay? This is very important. Eliminate the client handling of debtor calls. Okay? Anytime a debtor calls them, that client should tell that debtor, I'm sorry, it's out of my hands. You need to call 1-800-803-2183 and find out who you need to speak to resolve this. Okay, this way we avoid having to start back at square one. When we institute our full-scale collection efforts, we commit a substantial amount of time and resources in a short period of time. Everything we do is geared toward collecting fast. And we have to keep that client from undoing everything we've done toward getting the debtor to pay. And the best time to prevent client interference is during the discussion process of the first placement. Anything that's not clearly understood is misunderstood. And it's tough to build a good long-term relationship when you begin with misunderstanding. So you want to make sure that once we're on the job, your client stays out of it. Let's work as a team, okay? Meaning us, meaning you and your client. This is all teamwork here, okay? And you can tell your client, look, now that we are working as a team, it's important that we stick together. You can be sure that your debtors will try to call once we've made contact. They will try to divide our position to make it easier on them. Please, just refer them back to us. After all, they have given up their right to make deals with you when they decided to use you as their bank. They've also given up their right to using your valuable time. Okay, so we need to educate and reinforce always. This will help us control the building of relationships. Something else you want to control is updates and reports. Time is money, guys. If you spend a large part of your day answering questions and updating clients on debtor statuses, your productivity is going to go. If you spend 2 hours of an 8-hour day giving status reports and to make update calls, you give yourself a voluntary 25% cut in production and income. So it's important to make sure your client understands how to access and operate our online access portal. Okay, this is for convenience to our client. This is there for transparency on how we do business, but it is also there for efficiency purposes. And guys, use it to your advantage, okay? This can make your work so much more efficient, okay? And make sure that that client understands we don't send out reports. If you want updates, you have to log in and get them. And be aware when you tell your clients this that most agencies send reports out instead of giving their clients access to their system. So your new client is probably going to be accustomed to the old and time-consuming way of doing things. Also, when you're thinking about this, think about sales reps at other agencies that do not want to call their clients unless they are placing business. This is good for you, and it's good for your clients. It allows us to be completely transparent while we save you time and save your client time. It makes our service more convenient to your clients. And at the same time, it makes it more efficient for you as their account executive. One of the things you're going to want to learn how to do is to answer questions and objections before they occur. The best defense is a good offense. To us, this should translate to educating our clients and giving them positive preparation for some of the most common misunderstandings. It also relates to the continuous and ongoing use of the assumptive attitude. In anything we say, we convey the expectation of getting the prospect's business, or that the client's expressed concerns are logical, but they are not valid. For example, rate haggling after a collection. Do not fall victim to this, because your business and income will suffer. Not only will it affect how much commission you make, but it will affect the company as well. Remember, we put a great deal of time and resources into every account, even the ones that we can't collect. So we absolutely earn every penny we get. So make sure you sell the service provided and the cost benefit of a higher yield of collected accounts, and of course get a signed agreement. And I can assure you there will be times when a client places a large balance account at 40 to 50% because it's old and uncollectible in your client's eyes, and when we collect this account, the client will then realize he has to pay us a large sum of money. And in some cases, buyer's remorse can occur. When this happens, remind your client, you get what you pay for. Okay? Remind your client that he was getting nothing before we came into the picture, not to mention the resources and work required to collect old and difficult accounts. When any high fee collections occur, make sure that your client is convinced that we had to move mountains to collect. Okay, something else that is an element of client control is getting referrals from your clients. Okay, any salesperson that has been with the company beyond the first 6 months should be making fewer and fewer cold calls. Proper development and control of your client base can sometimes yield even more referrals than you can handle. Unfortunately, we seldom get referrals unless we ask for them, and asking the right way at the right time can make a significant difference in both the quantity and the quality of the referrals you get. For example, a good time to ask for a referral is when you're reporting a collected account to a client. Put the onus off on your client. Look, hey, I've done my part. Now it's time for you to do yours. I got the collectors on that account so fast. We got that PI in there. We got you your money. Now, I need you to give me 2 good references who you would expect to need my services. Even better, I'd like for you to give them a call for me and mention my name so that when I call, they'll be ready to listen. Is that fair enough? And this is how you work a proper referral. Look, guys, your clients are going to be happy when they collect from them. Hit them while they're hot. I've done my part. It's time for you to do yours. Okay, this is an excellent way in to get a client to actually call somebody that they know that needs us and get a foot in the door for you. Okay? Don't be afraid to ask of this. You will be surprised what a satisfied client will do for you when you've made his or her job easier. And remember, this client also looks good to his superiors because he has finally selected an agency that produces phenomenal results. And he should be happy to tell someone about us. Good referrals can literally make you rich in this business. Believe me, I know this. Another element of personal advancement in this is understanding the type of prospects that you will be calling, the people who you will contact. The decision makers are generally credit managers, chief financial officers, treasurers, bookkeepers, controllers, or someone designated to handle accounts receivable. Identifying that decision maker is very important to understanding what makes him tick. If you're talking to the CFO or the controller, generally this is a highly placed individual in the prospect's organization. They make a good salary and they have all the perks of a high position. On the other hand, if you're talking with a bookkeeper or someone else designated to handle accounts receivable, these people may be low on the organization chart. A lot of them are well paid. They have little prestige in the company, and hence their only turn on in life may be being obnoxious to salespeople. You've run into these. I know you have, because I know I have. Therefore, you must understand and practice the procedures for analyzing your prospects by what they say and how they say it. As a person thinks, so he acts. So as a permanent guide to evaluating your prospects, keep in mind, everyone has certain qualities in common. There are human characteristics that are found in all persons, okay? So remember, most people accept their beliefs as ready-made. They prefer not to think for themselves and would much rather accept an idea than discover one. New ideas and changes are threatening. I'm scared of new ideas. People don't want to lead. They want to follow. So you're going to need to tell your prospects what's good for them. Okay? Remember, the first thing people do is follow habits. And as we know, habits are strong, stubborn, and hard to break. Okay, so these are absolutely good points to remember when a prospect is using another agency and you want him to switch to Lyons and Associates or allow us to compete for the business. Okay? On the other hand, people are also extremely susceptible to suggestions. 3 out of 5 prospects will follow any suggestion that is properly presented to them. People like to think of themselves as something special sometimes. They work hard to establish their superiority by belonging to an exclusive club or maintaining homes they can't afford and living beyond their income. Reinforce this belief on your prospects and clients, okay? They're still susceptible to suggestions. That's why people do the things they do. Now, before you go into an examination of your various types of prospects, people, or whatever, realize that you're going to have to make allowances for the fluctuation of temperament in your prospect. Okay, identify individual differences. This can make the difference between a mediocre or a superstar account executive. Okay, and you learn this through your observation of your prospects' behavior, and you use what you learn to influence your approach. This is the most effective way to engage your prospect or client. If you pay attention, your prospect will tell you how to sell and how to close the deal. Now, any one person might be correctly described as a specific type. At different times, people may display different temperaments. As actions change, types change. In only one day, a person may be patient and friendly. Later on in the afternoon, he might be disgusted and unfriendly. He might have had business reverses. He might have been criticized by his superiors. Or the reason for his change may be fatigue, worry. Or maybe he went out and had a hot dog for lunch and he's got indigestion. You know, maybe there's bad news from home. When you're talking to your prospect on the phone, his voice tone and the manner in which he says things may display several different temperaments. Sometimes it could be one or two. Sometimes it could be two or more. What you should do when you hear a shifting range in personality traits is follow the signals. Some of the signals you're going to listen for in your prospect's mood at any particular moments will tip you off to practical ways to meet and handle successfully each type of temperament. Now, you're going to have the impulsive type. He's the type who is likely to interrupt you during your presentation. Often, your impulsive type is impatient. He might surprise you by saying, okay, I'll place accounts with you, but soon after he announces his decision, he changes his mind. In this case, it's often possible to lead him back to his original decision by quickly repeating all of the benefits he has to gain by placing accounts with you and try for a hard close. Push him as much as you can, but without necessarily nettling him. Don't let him stall or delay you. Okay, your impulsive type is also going to be a staller, believe it or not. If possible, tell him the story of someone who felt the same way as he did, but they hesitated to act, and finally they did act, and this is the results that they got. Tell in detail what the results were, and quote the actual words of the other client. If you don't have a story, get one. Somebody has one. When the impulsive prospect gets bored, remember, even though he may be silent or may interject with an occasional or a really, might even stifle a yawn. In such case, you have to immediately change your approach, okay? Instead of bothering him with details, give him just the facts. Give them rapidly and concisely. Give them headlines instead of the small print. And when the tone of his voice indicates that his interest has developed, then go into greater detail. Engage him and close him. Write the business. Now, the next type you're going to run into is the deliberate type. This is the type of prospect that wants to have every question answered to his full satisfaction. Generally, the speech pattern is going to be slow. The deliberate type will choose his words carefully. He can pick on all the detailed information you can give. And you cannot hurry this prospect. If you do, you will only succeed in irritating him. Now, this prospect is a good listener, and he's a thorough thinker. This prospect is most likely going to consider every angle before he makes his decision. And you must make sure that you know how to respond accurately to every objection. If you do, you will like this type of prospect, and he will like you. You can rest assured he will consider your offer as thoroughly as he considers any others. And if you give him a better picture, meaning use picture words, use picture phrases, and give him a better picture when you're describing your service, and you show that it is better than any of your competitors, this prospect will place accounts with you however long it takes him to come to a decision. Now, the other end of the spectrum, which is sometimes confused with this type, is the indecisive type. Okay, this is another prospect who takes time to make up his mind. However, the indecisive type will usually accept help in coming to a decision only if help is properly given, though. Because this type of prospect is undecided mentally, he's going to sound undecided. The tone of his voice is going to have a rising inflection that betrays his uncertainty. He doesn't like to decide. And when he approaches a decision, you will find fear expressed or worry. Now, with this prospect, don't make the mistake of moving too quickly. This prospect responds best to deliberate and authoritative guidance. Because he's a procrastinator, you don't want to confuse this guy with the deliberate type that we just talked about. Because he's a procrastinator, this type is going to shudder at making decisions. He's going to take a long time at mulling things over. Okay, the more information you give him, the more you add to his problem. He can't organize his mind with all the details, and as a result, he becomes perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. So, guide him deliberately and authoritatively. Okay? And of course, don't confuse him with the deliberate type. Try to focus his attention on a single course of action so you can guide him into making his decision. But in doing so, don't hurt his pride. Make him think of himself as making the decision instead of saying, I do think you want to reduce the number of your delinquent accounts by using Lyons and Associates. No, of course you want to reduce your number of delinquent accounts. And our network of private investigators will help do that for you. Concentrate his attention on only one course of action, and in simple terms, describe the logical reasons why he should follow that course of action. Don't force him. Don't ask him, would you prefer to give me those 2 or 3 accounts now? Rather, tell him, give me those 3 accounts now, and we'll get to work for you right away. Okay, now your next type is going to be the talkative type. This type of prospect is easy to recognize. He likes to chat. He's friendly and he's easy to talk to. But he is not an easy mark as a prospect. Because he likes to talk, he can easily sidetrack you, and you may find it difficult to go back to your presentation. In fact, you might end up spending all your time socializing and not selling. The point to remember here is that this type of prospect likes friendly and talkative salespeople. However, you must steer him back to talking business. Should you find yourself talking to this type of prospect, the best thing you can do is give him a reasonable length of time to talk, get it out of his system, and as he talks, be on the alert for an opening to jump in. Sooner or later, you will get your opportunity, and you can say, by the way, Mr. Prospect, that reminds me of an important benefit our service gives you, and give him an example. Or pick up on a comment he makes and tie it in with your sales talk. Steer his talk back to business. If it's small talk that he's giving you, agree with him the first chance you get. You're right, Mr. Prospect, I certainly agree with you. And we sure do need more rain. It's raining right now, as a matter of fact. One of the things I want to be sure and tell you about is that when you place accounts with us, you will have thousands of private investigators and attorneys working for you. And that doesn't have anything to do with, I sure agree we do need more rain, but you're agreeing and then you're pulling a 180. Okay? The next one, and this type is the most difficult to sell to many salespeople. The silent prospect. He just listens. He doesn't give any indication where he agrees. He doesn't tell you where he disagrees. This type wants to be treated in a dignified way. This type is only interested in facts. The best technique to use when you get the silent type is to ask leading questions, but make sure you don't overdo it. Draw them out. Ask questions that call for some type of response. And your draw-out questions are simple, and they can be as simple as you agree with that, don't you? I think that's a very important benefit. Don't you, Mr. Prospect? Now, the value of this technique is that usually your response is going to indicate how your prospect is thinking, even if he only gives an occasional, yeah, sure, to indicate agreement. Build on this response and get him to agree in the manner to what you are saying, okay? This type of prospect is only going to place accounts with you when he is sure, absolutely sure, that he gets the most advantage and benefits for himself. Keep in mind, he's only interested in what your services will do for him. He might have some interest in what they will do for his company, but primarily, more so than anything, what will you do for me? And he will accept your offer when he is sure your services will benefit him, and if you give him the treatment he wants, that will benefit him. You must, however, be tactful in this. Don't let him know that you realize he's the silent type. get in there and get your silent type engaged and draw the silent type out. Okay? Now, the opinionated type, we love these. Just as some of your prospects need help in arriving at a decision, some are decisive and positive. They have confidence, assurance in the inflection of their voices. This is a type of person that insists on doing his own deciding. And this type will resent anyone else doing it for him. This is your one that sometimes knows it all. Okay? When you find yourself with this prospect, compliment him on his knowledge. Compliment him on his mental superiority. Let him think he's mentally superior. And in this type, you can't be too obvious in your compliments. This is the type you want to say, man, your knowledge on this subject amazes me. Could you give me your opinion on this, whatever feature comes to mind, of course, about our services? Could you give me your opinion on this? Get them talking about it. With this, you build up your prospect's confidence and you divert his confidence to your sales presentation. Okay? By carefully directing a question here and there, you can get him to like you as a salesperson. At the same time, you direct his attention to your services. And this type of prospect can't very well dislike a salesperson who agrees with him on him being a great authority. So he does what you want him to do. He succeeds in selling himself on your services. And if you are the positive type too, then sometimes you can easily get into a clash with the opinionated prospect. And when you do, you'll soon hear, I'm not interested. I don't want to deal with your company. The thing to do in this type of situation is to talk about himself or about his business. Don't talk about Lyons and Associates. Get him to talk about his company. Find some way in which you can praise something about him or his business. For example, you might say, it's perfectly all right, Mr. Prospect. By the way, I never realized that it was your idea that built this business. How did you do it? This is an example of the age-old technique of flattery. Excuse me, flattery. I can't speak today. One of the best ways to soften up a hard and difficult prospect is through flattery. Okay, now, sometimes you're going to get the grudge holder type. Now, this prospect has had an unfortunate experience with another agency or with another salesperson. Okay? This is the grudge holder. And he's likely to be an easy person to get to talk with because he is waiting for a chance to launch his offensive. He's just waiting for you to call so he can complain about the last agency that did everything the wrong way. And he's going to tell you in detail what's wrong with the agency, the salesperson, the agency's services. And he might even point the finger at all of us. You guys are all the same. But what he's not likely to tell you, however, is why he feels the way he does. And to find out, you'll have to ask him specific questions. The last time we talked about the grudge holder type, Reiner made a suggestion that if you eat a bad steak, do you stop eating steaks? No. Reiner was absolutely right when he said that. You don't stop eating steaks. You stop going to the restaurant that served you the bad steak. It's pretty simple. Now, once you learn what happened from your grudge holder type, you have to set out to overcome his bad impression by letting him take all the time he needs to talk it out. And as soon as he lets you get in a word, ask him leading questions. Ask him questions that are designed to make him realize that his lack of confidence is not justified. For example, Mr. Prospect. Just as all companies in your industry are not alike, do you believe that all collection agencies are alike? Or have you heard similar complaints from anyone else? To turn the grudge holder into someone who will place accounts with you, let him talk and talk until he becomes aware that he is being both unreasonable and unrealistic. And when you do this, help him find out that it's his own decision that he's unreasonable and unrealistic. Now, you won't always be able to do this. Sometimes you will have to use a negative close in the grudge holder type. Any of you who have heard me close one of these grudge holder types know that I like to use the negative close on that. I like to get that prospect confrontational, but that doesn't always work. It works well for me because, I don't know, I guess I like the psychology of confrontation. It works for me. Let's talk about the buck passer. You're going to run into so many of these. This guy agrees with everything you say. Man, you guys are excellent. Your rate is just right. Your services are great. But I need to ask my boss. I need to run it by the board. The first part of your task is to get a commitment. Okay? And we've previously talked about decision influencers. The buck passer may be a decision influencer. So find out, does he personally agree that you can help him reduce the number of delinquent accounts? If not, keep selling till he does. If he says yes, but insists the decision must be made by someone else, when can I talk to him? To turn the buck passer into someone who will place accounts with you, get him to send you on to his boss, on to his committee or his board or whoever. In some cases, you just have to go over his head. And while the buck passer may not like that, he will eventually come to appreciate it. The next one is the procrastinator. This one never wants to make a decision. He likes to listen to you, boy. He likes to answer your questions, but he needs a little more time to make his mind up. Okay? Now, sometimes this is a smoke screen to cover up his lack of authority to place accounts. And if so, handle him like the buck passer. But if you think he has the authority, your approach would be to smooth his way into a decision. Explain the various decisions that are open to him. Give him factual evidence why the decision that you want him to make is the best one for him and his company. Suggest that he can take a few notes so that he can discuss your proposal with his associates. Also, ask him questions that you know he will have to answer affirmatively. Don't you agree that our network of private investigators will help you collect more money more quickly? And give him some testimonials, some things that other clients have told you about us collecting their money. Remember, guys, use psychology. Okay, you've got the impulsive type, the deliberate type, indecisive type. You've got the procrastinator, the buck passer, the grudge holder, the silent type, the talkative type, and the opinionated type. If you use psychology on all of these types, you will succeed. Okay? Now, next point, put your imagination to work. Okay? We all know that anyone can fill orders and answer inquiries. Now, sometimes these are necessary selling activities. Okay? Occasionally a prospect will call you up that you've left word for and ask you about our services, and there is already a need for this prospect, or probably wouldn't be calling you. In these situations, it doesn't take much imagination to make a sale. But we want to realize that this type of situation is not the real world. You're always going to be the one initiating the sales call. And one thing is certain. Every successful salesperson at Lyons & Associates who makes good money is a creative salesperson. He creates sales, producing ideas. Because this is a person of imagination. This is a person who knows how to put his imagination to work for him and in his selling. He knows how to create business where none existed before. No one has a monopoly on creativity or imagination. And everyone has these qualities. There's some of it in everyone. And remember, every account placed with you starts as a thought in your mind. And the more you use your imagination, the more successful ideas you create and the more sales you will make. Creative imagination is your greatest asset in the inside selling profession. In fact, this ability is the only way to properly meet the endless challenges that confront you in your day-to-day selling. It's a given fact that month after month, the Account Executive of the Month Award at Lyons & Associates is given to a salesperson that's using imagination. Imagination might be a force that can sweep away competitive resistance and turn prospects into clients. It is also one of the major things that sweeps away competitive resistance and turns prospects into clients. If that makes any sense. The basic ingredient in this is going to be curiosity. So, imagination is curiosity. If you want to expand your sales horizon, expand your idea horizon. Make it your aim to find out the who, what, where, when, how, and why of everything that relates to your job. Imagine yourself handling your position like a super salesperson. Analyze your job. Dissect it piece by piece. Try to imagine all the things you would do in a difficult situation. Give your imagination free rein. On the other hand, keep your ideas practical and realistic. And jot down your ideas so you won't forget them, because you never know when you can use them in the near future. If you find yourself thinking wild ideas, don't worry. They'll straighten themselves out. When you think them through, you can often adapt them into your selling. Whatever you do in your job, try to think of ways of doing it better, more efficiently, and more effectively. Above all, be curious about your work. Learn as much as possible about the services offered by Lyons & Associates and why there are not any better services offered by competitors. This is so important. Find out what there is about them that no other salesperson can claim in his presentation. When you're curious, you want to know as much as possible about your prospects and clients. You want to know about their problems, and you want to know how our services can help them solve their problems. You make it your business to know about various types of prospects and what makes people tick. Some of the things that you can use to training your imagination and using it in your job, talk to other inside salespeople. You know, these can be, you know, your manager, your fellow salespeople, salespeople working for other companies. And even though you and another salesperson may not live in the same selling world or geographical location, and despite the differences in services and products that different salespeople sell, professional networking websites are a great place to find other like minds. For example, I've suggested that everyone use LinkedIn. Use it for additional exposure. Any mental interchange of ideas with a person of your profession will stimulate your imagination and give you a helpful transfusion of ideas. And you can tell them how you meet a certain selling problem and ask them how they meet theirs. You can also borrow ideas, adapt them into your job. With a little effort, you can use other people's ideas to help you create account placements. The next time you get a call from a telemarketer, listen to his pitch. Whenever a salesperson calls here trying to sell us something, I talk to him. You know why? I might learn something. I listen to determine if there are any ideas that I can borrow. And if he's doing a good job at selling, you tell him to come work for us. You know, look for new ways to present the Lyons & Associates difference to your prospects and clients. If you find that your presentation is effective, don't change it just to be different, but try to study the response you get from each type of prospect and imagine how you can adapt it to each individual type. Mentally review the presentation you've made and think of ways you might have been more successful. What could you have said or not said? What features and benefits could you have offered more effectively? How could you have convinced each of your prospects of your mutual advantages? Turn your imagination loose. You will think of new and interesting ways to present your product, your presentation. And of course, review your relation with each of your prospects and clients. Imagine what each might want and what you can give. Okay? Give him more of it before your competitor decides to do the same thing. Many inexperienced inside salespeople are so set on what they want, which is to get the decision maker, to get accounts placed with them, to get in and out as fast as possible. They think these things so much that they don't bother to learn what the prospect or client wants in the way of special services or attention. But if you ask top salespeople why they think they are consistently successful, most will admit they always learn what each prospect or client wants, and they give him or her more of it, within reason, of course. And this is a key element of controlling your relationship with your client. So with this, use your imagination to boost your ability to place accounts with a competitive difference. Ours, of course, is, you know, a network, thousands of licensed private investigators and attorneys that we still use effectively. A lot of agencies, even the ones that use this stuff, still do not use them effectively, and they've gone into more high-tech collection approaches that do not produce the types of yields that Lyons and Associates produces. Some of the other things, you know, when you're talking about yields that are 3 times the industry average, we remit upon clearance. I mean, this is fantastic, guys. We have completely transparent online access, and our ability to collect more money more quickly by properly working accounts and fully utilizing our resources is a key benefit. Your job is to use this Lyons and Associates difference and sell this against what our competitors don't have. Stir the pot, stir the imagination, give your presentation, give it something new, give it a fresh coat of imaginative paint. Use your picture words. Draw that picture for your prospect or client as to what your services can do for them. I've mentioned before, you want your prospect to actually picture his past due accounts turning into money flowing into his bank accounts. To do this, you've got to get out your mental paintbrush, stimulate your prospect's imagination, and stimulate your own imagination while you're stimulating. Feed it continuously. Look everywhere for thoughts and information that will start your creative machinery swirling with ideas of your own. Okay? Associate yourself with successful business people. Find out the reasons for their success. Okay? All of these things will mold you into a salesperson that clients buy from, and that is able to control that relationship. All of these things are very important. So your progress is going to come from reviewing things, by networking, by learning, okay, by stimulating your imagination, adapting new things into your presentation, utilizing them and developing your ways of controlling your relationships with your clients. Now, this is something that's going to help you also retain your clients, because we work very hard to turn a prospect into a client. So, of course, you want to keep them. Okay? So, don't think after the thrill of the chase is over and you found a new client that this client is going to automatically just keep calling you. Sometimes when a prospect is converted to a client, some salespeople feel as if the fun is gone, and I'm guilty of this myself. I love the hunt. I love the thrill of the hunt. And what I'm saying here is don't neglect your domesticated client for the wild game prospect that is still at large. Because, man, I know it's fun to chase it down. I know it's fun to hunt. But to properly do your job at this, you have absolutely got to keep your clients happy once you have them. Now, if you're interested in higher commissions, keep your attention on your domestic clients. Okay, these are the guys that you've written that are placing business with you again. Keep up with these guys. Okay, they have more business. You know, unless, of course, selling is merely a sport. You know, if it's a sport and you don't want to make any money, hey, go hunting. But before I go too far into this, let's make sure that we understand that new clients are important too. They're very important. You have to gain new clients, not only to grow, but to hold your ground. So don't take the sports selling comment too much at heart. Even the best salespeople sometimes lose a client each year through no fault of their own. So the development of new clients is an important part of your selling activity, and it's an important part of your survival. What we're focusing on here is the importance of your present clients, how to keep them, how to make them more profitable, and of course, you know, getting new clients is important, but we have to exert control. And I agree that there's nothing complicated about keeping clients, and no client will leave you as long as it's to his advantage to stay. But your job is to make sure that there is an advantage to continue the relationship and make sure your client is aware of it. Okay? The only reason some salespeople lose good clients is by having a lack of systematic determination to keep them. Once they decide to do something about it, these salespeople find that all they need to do is give that client the attention they deserve. So let's look at some realistic steps in controlling the relationship and conserving your client, okay? You have to have your own client conservation program here, okay? First thing, and for the most part, this is in the hands of the collectors. Deliver what you promise, but only promise what you can deliver. Okay, this is the part that's in your hand. Only promise what you can deliver. Okay, if you're promising a client that we can absolutely collect their money on a 2-year-old account that has skipped town and possibly dissolved the corporation, you have now made an empty promise. And nothing shows integrity and builds trust like following through on your commitment. If you promise your client to do something, then do it. Make a list of the promises you make and read them. Follow through. Make a note of how much business your clients are giving you. You also want to keep track of the annual volume you get from each client, okay? And you want to rate these clients, okay? You want to rate them according to the volume of accounts they place with you. Determine who your A list is, who's your B list, and who's your C list, okay? Time your client calls and devote your attention according to each client's potential. Spend more time and call more often on those clients that are regularly placing accounts with you. Your A-list, okay? If you have to slight any, slight those that are not giving you much business. Your C-list client. You know, maybe you're at a point now where you're mentoring other sales reps and you've got a C-list client that's kind of a waste of your time, but it may be something to motivate somebody that you're mentoring if of course you've made it to veteran status and you're taking on mentees. Another thing, analyze the rating of your clients to show the relative value of each client to you. And ask yourself some questions about each one. How can I raise this client to a higher volume of placements? How much of this client's total past due aging am I getting? Am I spending enough time on this valuable client to keep him? Should this client be placing more accounts with me? Then plan your action. Set up a definite program, okay? See what you can do to make low-volume clients larger clients, okay? Getting all the possible accounts placed from a regular client is what you do in this business. Sometimes you can make those now and then clients into a client who places accounts with you on a regular basis. Okay, so know your clients well. Good salespeople keep what's called a client diary. Okay? We have, for example, a special notes section in our CRM system for prospects for you to diary special needs. That's why there's a top note section and a bottom one. You know, anything that you want to see every time you pull it up, you put on the bottom. Now, these aren't the types of things that are going to carry over when you convert them to a client. So when you have clients that have special needs, likes, dislikes, family interests, hobbies, keep a record of this stuff, guys. Okay? With this, you have a better chance of establishing a solid rapport and maintaining a long-term relationship. Most of all, knowing about your client pleases them. Pleased clients continue to do business with you, and you have control over the relationship with your happy clients. Another thing is client contacts. You know, obviously keep in regular contact, but also you need to regulate your time. Considering the time spent with the client and the relative worth of his business, consider that and the worth of your other clients. Don't get in the habit of calling clients to give status reports. Call them when some account has been collected or when you have something of importance you can communicate. Okay? And while you're on the phone, obtain new business. The point is, you want your clients aware of your desire to continue to provide our services to him. Some salespeople even send personal cards to clients while away on vacation. Matter of fact, for example, like us as an agency, we always send Christmas cards to every one of our clients. For example, I have some of these left. Last year, we sent these out. Okay? It's a personalized Christmas card to all of our clients. This is something we do, and it's kind of funny. It's catchy, you know? As debt collectors, we know that we're probably on the naughty list, but we can give you our best wishes and hope we're on the nice list for next year. You know, it's a nice gesture. Keep up with your clients, you know when their birthdays are, even if it's just an email. Hey, Bob, happy birthday, man, best wishes. Okay? And when you're using your imagination, let clients know we're in the collection business, not the reporting business. So let them know that their online access is there for reporting purposes. One thing you want to keep in mind, if you ever have complaints, handle them properly. None of us like complaints. They don't happen often at all. But if you ever get them, this is a wonderful opportunity to cement your client relations. If a client ever has a complaint, don't take it lightly. No matter how trivial it may seem or how chronic the complaint may be, it doesn't mean that you should give in to every demand a client makes, but don't pass the buck. Make sure their complaint is settled, and of course, make sure you always back up our policies and our rates, but do make every effort to see that your clients get proper treatment. If someone else is at fault for a complaint, take the bitter medicine as part of your responsibility as a salesperson. Don't pass the buck. Take responsibility for us. If you've ever called someplace that you're having a problem with about a service or a product, and the person you've talked to passed the buck, your estimation goes down of that company. And the same thing could happen in this situation. So, satisfy a client's complaint. You'll probably never have one, but in the event you do, handle it. And after you handle it, ask for some accounts. And of course, show your appreciation. We all like to feel important, and your clients are no exception. By showing appreciation, you inflate your clients' egos. Make them feel good. Sometimes ask for small favors. You know, like, hey, man, how about a referral? Our reward is their show of appreciation, right? So, my goodness, I have been talking for way too long, guys. I'm going to shut up now. Give me some questions. Anybody have anything? Now, no wonder my throat's getting dry. I've been talking for almost 2 hours. I guess I'm the talkative type. Wow, and it says here I've got 10 new chat messages. Okay. Oh, okay. No chat messages with actual questions. Okay. Anybody have any questions? I know you guys have been sitting here for almost 2 hours, so you're probably eager to do something else other than listen to me. God, I'm tired of looking at myself, and as much as I love myself, you know that's hard to do. So, questions, guys, questions, anything. Okay. Well, I suppose if no one has any questions, we are going to close. And of course, guys, if you missed anything, you can view this on our YouTube channel. And of course, the other Hangouts are also viewable there. So check them out. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is sales. And sales is money. So I'm going to give one more chance for questions, and then I'm going to stop the broadcast. So anybody? All right, gentlemen and ladies.
Can't leave the ladies out, Mike.
I know, I can't leave the ladies out. We wouldn't be here without them.
That's right. I just want to make a comment. I think today was the most powerful Hangouts that we've had, and I think there was a lot of gold in the mine here today. And if people will really take the time to watch over this over the weekend many times, not just one or two, because you're going to get more and more information each time you watch it, it's going to be very powerful for them if they apply it. But I think the other thing is that this all ties into taking the customer from point A to Z, which is getting the placement of accounts, and being able to ask something of them and expect something in return. Quite often, like when a client says, well, mail me out some information. Oh, wow, you're excited. They want me to mail them out information. But what I like to do is I try to tell my people is make them qualified for that information. I'm more than happy to send you information. Now, Mike, are you just telling me that to get me off the phone? Or are you seriously going to take a look at this information and come up with some questions when I follow up with you tomorrow? Now, Mike, I'm more than happy to send that out, but quite honestly, I don't want to put the monkey on your shoulder, because you know what's going to happen when I hang up? If you're serious, that monkey is going to be slapping you upside the ear every time you're not thinking about it, and I'm here to take the monkey off your shoulder. Now let's get on with this and let's do business today. Fair enough? I mean, as stupid as that sounds, it's a very powerful close.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of truth to it, because, how many times have we been in conversation with our spouses, our friends, relatives, or what have you, and they bring up a point, and we're driving home or what have you, and we're thinking about what was said, and it kind of takes over our mind for the rest of the evening until we deal with that issue. So if you're effective, that's what's happening to that client. So why would you want to put that burden on them? take the pressure off by asking them, let's do business today. You know, I mean, if you don't ask, you won't receive.
Yeah, this is absolutely true, and Ronner is absolutely right about this, and we are not in the information sending business. And if they absolutely have to get some information, use it as an opportunity to qualify. Because the point is, and the reason I'm so adamant about saying qualify before you send information is the simple fact it will tell you if they're brushing you off. It's not because we need the information, it's because we need to know whether it's a brush off or if they're actually considering placing business. And if they will tell you information about their accounts, then you have the possibility of closing them. If they won't give you any information about anything, if they say, oh, that's private information, well, then they're never going to place an account with you, so of course you skip over that. And I like the stuff you're saying there, Ron. Man, we got some good stuff going on.
Well, years of experience, you retain a few things, you know. But you know, I love everything that you presented today, and it's very powerful. And I'm here to tell you that it all works, because I know that I've used it over the years at some point in time in face-to-face selling. That's where most of my experience is. But, you know, it never changes. Selling is selling. It doesn't matter whether you're selling Bibles or you're selling appliances or you're selling collection services. It's all the same questions, and pretty much the same objections come up regardless of what you're selling. You know, I was just talking with a gentleman last night who might be coming on board with us, who sells cars. He's very successful at selling cars. But, you know, he sees himself as being successful in selling collections. He has the right attitude, right mindset. And, you know, he just got so excited. I told him, I said, you know, I'm not going to make a decision. I want you to sleep overnight. This is going to affect you and your family, but I think you have everything to be successful as well. So, you know, let's all step up to the plate, including myself, and take advantage of this opportunity here. You know, I'm one of the first ones to tell you, you're not paying for the opportunity to ask for leads or to have a CRM provided for you that is provided for us. Many companies would charge you for that opportunity. Now, Mike and I had a conversation the other day. He said, Reiner, I get these leads. And I said, you know, I understand, but it takes time. Time is money. So it costs everybody a lot of money to provide the leads and the opportunity that we have, but we have to get serious. So I'm just saying, take advantage of our toolbox here, put these tools in our toolbox and make use of them, and make ourselves proud and our families proud. We deserve more than what we have today.
Absolutely. So you giving me permission to go buy a yacht, man, because I deserve it?
Mike, if you want a yacht, go get yourself a yacht. I'll be down and join you. Awesome, man. Yeah, let's or better yet, man, let's go sailing in the Caribbean. There you go.
I'll cook the gumbo.
I'll eat it.
Yeah, so will I. All right. Does anybody have anything else?
I have a question.
Okay.
I had someone on the phone yesterday. He said he had 4 accounts that he was working on. However, he said that he just places liens on those people's accounts. He just has a judge issue a lien on their account, like, you know, they have to pay or else he'll take their property. And I was just wondering, is there any way that you can come back from that? Because I was like, well, what could I come back with after that? He said he'll just take their property if they don't pay. And I thought to myself afterward, well, is there does he just work with people that just have property? Because I'm sure not everyone has property. So is there any way that you would have came back with an objection to get him to give you a piece of that pie?
Yeah, absolutely. I would ask for a big piece of that pie with ice cream on top. Lean,
As a Louisiana mud pie.
liens do not collect debts, okay? He cannot, depending on what he's selling, okay, if he's just placing a mechanic's lien, what industry is this guy in, Trina?
I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure. I think it was one of the trucking leads, but I don't remember offhand. I'll have to go back and look it up, look at my notes, see if I run across it again. But I don't remember. But I do remember he said, "Well, we've been doing this for 14 years. We just place it to the judge, and if they don't pay us our money, we will take their property."
If you get him back on the phone, I would love to talk to him.
I can look through my notes and see which one it was, because I really don't remember offhand, you know.
Because it sounds like he's placing a mechanic's lien, and you can't take somebody's property with a mechanic's lien. He is full of crap, and if you get him on the phone with me, I will be happy to tell him that he is full of crap, and let's get to the real deal.
I'll let you tell him that.
and the thing is, look, I have clients that lien stuff, okay? And we collect for them. You know why they hire us to collect for them? Because with a lien, you've got to sit on the lien till they sell the property. Okay, because let's think about this. Most properties have what's called a UCC1. A UCC1 is the first lien in place, normally by the financial institution, the bank, or whoever financed that property is going to hold the first lien. Okay, for example, if you get if you get work done on your house, okay, and the contractor puts a mechanic's lien. Let's say they come and put a new roof on. That mechanic's lien cannot force the bank to foreclose on the property, because for what does a roof cost these days? About
$5,000.
Okay, for whatever amount. The bank's going to have a UCC1 on the property. Okay, that's your first lien. That's what a UCC1 is. And the mechanic's lien, they can't go in and say, hey man, look, you've got this big lien on here, so we're going to have to ask you to pull the note, you know, so we can collect our 5 or 10 grand. That's not happening. It's never happening. Now, if that person goes to refinance that property, or they go to sell that property, then in most cases the lien has to be satisfied out of the escrow from the settlement. And when I say settlement, I mean the settlement of the property sale. Now, in some cases, and I've seen this happen a lot too, I have seen many people sell properties right out from under a lien. I mean, without satisfying the lien or anything. Just boom, Property gone, sold to somebody else.
Well, he said he's been doing it for 14 years.
Good for him. How much is he collecting?
I didn't ask. I mean, he was kind of annoyed with me because I kind of repeated myself a couple of times, saying what the benefits would be. And then when you say, well, we've been doing this for 14 years and we get our money by going through the judge and court system, I was like, well, there was nothing more for me to say. You know, and I already annoyed him, so I want to keep him on the phone.
Yeah, and, you know, typically when you have somebody like that, the opinionated type that we just talked about, in a lot of cases you're going to want to move on. And you know, if you feel like, you know, that prospect needs to be slapped around a little bit, I like to slap people around. It's fun.
Well, I can find the lead and have you speak with him and see what comes of it.
Well, and don't go and look for it. If you come across it again,
Okay.
yeah, because we don't want to waste our time on BS. A lot of getting this done is getting it done efficiently. So, you know, we want to look at things like that, and in a lot of cases chalk them up as a no need. But you know, I do miss having the opportunity to beat up on people on the phone. So, you know, occasionally I do like to hop on the phone and deal with difficult situations. You know, I need that. It's stress relief, right?
Yeah. I had one other prospect on the phone yesterday. He said that he had 2 accounts, but they were going to go to the judicial system because he felt it was worth it going to a collection agency. It was like $2,000 and $3,000. He said that one collection agency told him that they'll give him $200 once they recover the money. And he said that's a ripoff. I said, well, of course it is. I mean, you know, then you'll give he has $2,000 account and you're gonna give him $200 once this is another collection agency. Once they collect the money, they'll give him $200. I said, well, you might as well let the customer keep the product then. So he said he was gonna go through the court system.
Okay. So what is his plan of action to collect that judgment once he obtains it?
Is it even worth our time for it to be placed in collections? Because he sounded like he was going to go through that route because he'll get more of his money back versus going through a collection agency. And then he would probably be described as what you were going over earlier as a pass the buck type person. He said, well, you know, he really didn't make the final decisions anyway, but he knew what was going on.
Yeah, and the point I'm making is judgments don't collect accounts. Collectors collect accounts. Even if he gets a judgment, he still has to collect the judgment.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did ask for a brochure for future knowledge purposes. I can send him a brochure and follow up with him because, like you said, that it'd probably be worth his benefit to go through a collector. And then I think they were like just 90 days past due or even less than that, so it probably wouldn't be that big of a percentage off of his money.
Right, but keep in mind, Trina, that you want to get a pipeline built. You want a volume of this stuff coming in, even if it looks like just a little bit of money. Okay, you want to bring it in because right now you're in the beginning of your pipeline building process. So bringing in accounts. Even if it's a $2,000 account that we're writing at 20%, that's a potential $400 in fee for us. And it might seem like it's hardly worth the time, but $400 in fees, $120 in your pocket, okay? And it's an account. The client may have more stuff in the future. Okay? And what we want to keep in mind is 90 days. 90 days is a good piece of business. 90 days is a very good piece of business. 120 days is a good piece of business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if this guy is, I'm assuming that he's gonna, what state is he in?
I believe he was in California because I was calling some California leads. Yes, he was in California. He was in California.
In California, small claims is under $7,500, and it's going to cost him $150 to file suit in small claims court. Okay. Now, what typically happens in that is the debtor company is not going to show up to court, and he's going to end up with a default judgment. It's probably going to take him 60 days to get the default judgment. Then he has to collect that judgment. Okay? Now, if he does not know how to collect a judgment, because a judgment doesn't mean he's going to get paid. A judgment means that a court is going to agree that legally the debtor owes the money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I have a rebuttal for everything, Trina.
Okay, welcome to you.
Well, you should Reiner's your sales manager, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you should go to him.
Yes.
Primary stuff on this, because he's going to help you, get acclimated in. And the main thing in this is you put in the activity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The activity is going to help you to run into the different situations. Then as you run into them, you learn more about them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this stuff that you're running into is in our training material, so you can go in and read back over that, and you can get Reiner's opinions on it, and of course you have my opinions on it as well, and this will help you develop your set of rebuttals. It will help you build your toolbox and help you get in your future calls and overcome these obstacles, so you can begin closing deals and doing it at a respectable ratio.
I wanted to say that I didn't have a problem taking on his two accounts that were $2,000 and $3,000. I was just thinking for his benefit, maybe it wasn't beneficial for him to go through a collection agency because he would get more of his money by just going through the judicial system. That's what I was thinking. But now you explained that it would be more beneficial for him to use a collection agency so he can get his money for sure.
Well, yes, and it would be more beneficial for him to use us, because if the account's 90 days old, it's only going to cost him 20%.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 120 days old, it's going to cost him 25%.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, on that $2,000 account, it's going to cost him nothing up front. He doesn't pay a penny up front. He only pays if we collect.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to go spend $150 on the filing, okay, then he's got to serve it. Let's not forget service. If you can't serve the summons and complaint, it can't be heard by a judge. So he's got to figure out how to serve it. Okay? Then he's got to take his time to go to court. Okay, and all of these things he's having to do, time is money.
Yeah.
Time is money. What he's doing, going to get a judgment, isn't going to collect his money, and it's going to cost him, in, of course, his time and part of it monetary. It's going to cost him more than that $400 to go get that small claims judgment. My opinion is he's a fool if he does that.
Well, I will call him and speak with him and see who I should speak with to actually place the account. And explain to him that it would be more beneficial. Explain what you just told me. It would be more beneficial for him to use us, and we can work on getting his payment. Because the customers have the product. They said they were unhappy with the product. And he actually said another collection agency would not help him because they made it seem like it was a consumer complaint where, you know, they said they were unhappy with the product, and that's why they didn't pay. And he said it was through PayPal, I think. And he said they didn't pay, but yet they kept the product. He said, well, we would have been happy to have given them a refund, but they still have the door. And I said, well, that's not right, you know. And so he's like, well, I don't know. And then he was saying how the other collection agency was talking about giving him $200 of his money once they collect it. And so I'll call him back and tell him that we can help him and that it will be more beneficial for him to use us, and we will be willing to help him.
Okay, now, you said something about a consumer complaint.
Yes.
Is this a consumer account?
No. Well, you said consumer account. You know, I would have to check. I thought it was a business account. So you're saying if it was a consumer, then we couldn't help him then if it was a consumer. So, yeah, so I would have to double check to see if it's actually with a business account. Because I forgot to ask that question. I'll double check that. I'll double check to see if it's with a business and not a consumer.
And just so you know, if this is I'm assuming if it's for a door, it's a contractor more than, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time on these contractor accounts, we collect not only the principal balance, but we collect interest and collection fees on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens on a majority of the construction supply accounts. Now, that doesn't happen on every one, but tell him we will go after the collection fees as well as interest, as well as the principal balance. Now, there are, of course, some industries where you don't want to use that too much, but for construction, absolutely. Absolutely. If this is a situation where he's going after a contractor for buying a door, and this is in California, I was actually before this hangout, I was on the phone with a client of mine, and we were just talking about construction stuff, because as an agency we make a lot of money in that stuff, and he works for a large publicly traded manufacturing company that he couldn't believe the amount of money we make on stuff like bricks and stone and doors and stuff like that. You know, he assumed that the only stuff we made a lot of money on was, you know, companies like his that do $1 billion in sales a year and are big public companies, stuff like that. But we were talking about this, and I told him, I said, look, man, and they're in California. I said, look, I said, and for this stuff, I've even personally read the 1,125-page business and building and professions code book for contractors in the state of California, so I can know every law we can use to put pressure on these guys, and that's absolutely the truth. And this is the type of thing that helps me keep our collectors knowledgeable in whatever type of industry we're going after. You know, whether it's a $1 billion company that manufactures medical lasers, or whether it's a company that makes bricks and stones, and they're only a $50 million a year company. Either way, either one of these clients are important to us, and we can help them. Even your guy who wants to go get his judgment for $2,000. I mean, it's a poor business decision when he's got a collection agency that's willing to take it on contingency. I mean, you know, but it's up to him. You know, if he wants to make poor decisions, well, let him make poor decisions, right? After all,
I don't know that it was. I just don't think that he was well informed. I will find out for sure that he's not dealing with a direct customer, and that was a contractor that he's disputing, and then I'll, you know, tell him that we can help him.
Okay. Yeah, and that more than likely, it's a contractor.
Okay.
Most of the people who would order a $2,000 door are not going to be somebody who's going to put it in themselves.
Okay.
All right, so any other questions? Anyone? All right then, ladies and gentlemen. Happy selling, and let's make some money. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.